frats, gangs versus
fraternities. The same thing. Blood is a fraternity. 100%. It's no difference. It's no difference. Only thing they did different is file legal papers that make them a fraternity. If somebody was to name Blood Alpha Phi Blood right now and file the papers, then Blood would be a fraternity, and we could start it anywhere, and they could put it in colleges and all that. Being Blood is not a crime. What you do, if you're doing criminal activity as being a Blood, makes it a crime. But that doesn't mean every Blood is a criminal.
So this episode right here is going to be very interesting because I just seen Jim Jones on Joe Budden's podcast, and he said some of the most dumbest I've ever heard in my life. And I'm ready to crash out on this video right here, and I'm ready to argue with anybody who feels differently than what I feel. Y'all can say whatever y'all want to say up in them comments. I don't care. But we're going to get into this video, and y'all know how we do it on this channel, right? We're going to keep it 1 million, 1 trillion. We ain't gonna sugarcoat this to make sure that somebody else feels okay and all politically correct. Nah, we're gonna speak it how this really is on this channel right here. But before we get to the video, show your boy some love. Hit that like button if you want to see what's next up. Hit that sub up button. And without further ado, let's get to it.
Shouts to New York.
This is what we had an argument about. You had these niggas in here arguing about Bloods versus frats, gangs versus
fraternities. The same thing. Blood is a fraternity. 100%. It's no difference. It's no difference. Only thing they did different is file legal papers that make them a fraternity. If somebody was to name Blood Alpha Phi Blood right now and file the papers, then Blood would be a fraternity, and we could start it anywhere, and they could put it in colleges and all that. Being Blood is not a crime. What you do, if you're doing criminal activity as being a Blood, makes it a crime. But that doesn't mean every Blood is a criminal. It doesn't mean every Blood needs to go to jail for the crime that one Blood did. So I know there's a lot of people in fraternities that broke hella laws and they are locked up right now. I know there's a lot of Q dogs who lock their ass up right now. You heard?
This logic ain't never gonna work. I don't know how they. If a blood gang is no different than a fraternity, right? A fraternity that's in college. If a blood gang is no different, then Bloods would be civilians. Bloods is always going to be a criminal because they criminal in nature. It doesn't mean that everybody's committing crimes. More likely, motherfuckers is committing crimes because a gang is outside the law. You know, and anybody can argue about that. I ain't never in my life, I don't care if it was GD, I don't care what kind of literature or hierarchy. I've never seen a gang that's been without the criminal element to it. Never in my life. I don't, and working to move somebody forward, yeah, the organization is, the motherfuckers in your organization, 9 out of 10 times are gonna be the ones that you really gotta watch the closest or who really got the most spite and envy and jealousy for you. But that's another story, right? Jim Jones really is sitting here on a podcast of this nature of Joe Budden. I think he was talking about it on the Breakfast Club too, right? So two platforms this man really sat on with this rhetoric that he has right here to really believe. And imagine what these young kids, somebody 13, 14, 15, that don't have the rational brain or the experience of life, really hears this man saying though, right? Because these are huge platforms and he's saying there's no difference. But last time I checked though, people who work their way all the way up to get to college, you know how hard it is? A lot of motherfuckers can't even get past high school. Some cats is failing in middle school. Do you know how hard it is to get to college and get in and get to a sorority? Like, come on. And last time I checked, they didn't have to watch their back. They didn't have, I mean, they had to be a street aware, but I mean, like, not like when you really are representing the organization and you taking on other people's beefs and stuff like that. I ain't never seen that. So I can't buy into that. And I get what he's talking about is an organization and they may be structured and similar of a nature. And we're going to break more of that down here further into the video. But, you know, first and foremost, how would you be of a gang and not be a criminal in nature when you cannot, when a blood has to take a code of ethics, right? Of what to do and what not to do. Police is always like the #1 enemy, period. And working with the police, cooperating with the police. Now, Jim is very suspect, though, right? Because he surely has dodged the penitentiary. He's been involved, caught on wiretaps, whole nine, but yet he ain't never did no Fed time, jail time, and he's still out here. He's an agent of deception in my motherfucking opinion. Jim Jones is an agent of deception. Highest form of, for a man to speak of that conviction and really push that narrative out there. And he's gonna say some more dumb shit though. He's gonna say some extra dumb shit coming up. This is just a precursor to it, but yeah, nah. Let me know what y'all think down below.
Dig, but nobody talks about that. It's all the same thing.
Nigga said, ooh.
You heard?
It's funny as shit.
It's all the same thing. Freemasons, fraternities, Bloods, Crips, Yetas, it's all the same thing.
I don't know. Let me ask you a question about that. Let me ask you a question about that. So if somebody said, what's the fundamental...
The benefits
purpose?
Might not be the same.
There we go.
You heard? Fraternity has a different type of benefit. You sign to this fraternity, hopefully it'll help you out with your future successes and business endeavors. And this dude might work at this law firm. Now he gives you an automatic in. Now your intern there to end up being, you dig? Like, but it kind of works in the same way of that also, because you got people like me that have been helping out people legally and giving people different type of jobs and opportunities in their lifestyle. So what's the difference?
But let me ask you this though about... Oh, go ahead.
Is it a difference in majority versus minority? And
As far as what?
And when I say that, you blood, right?
Right.
If we took 100 bloods,
Right.
give me a real one, yo. Not to win your argument, or not argument, a real one of people that are putting other people in position to be successful. Keep it a buck.
Out of 100 Bloods, how many? Yeah, the percentage might be low. It might be low.
So that's where the differentiation lies, because with the sorority example, or with the Mason example, or with the Congress, senators, Imani brought up, yo, the Congress and senators, they be running that shit like death row. But niggas won't know that. What we see from gang culture, and we all been around, all our friends, family, whatever, is down, but...
I'm trying to know. You nigga don't try to get me
Get you affiliated.
Everybody in here got family or friends that's affiliated, whether they knee deep or whether they just on the surface. So what I'm saying is the perception of it is where we get the disparity.
100%.
Because we don't see enough niggas.
You asked me a question, now you go into something different. You asked me if being blood in a fraternity, do I feel is the same thing? And yes, I feel it's the same thing. I feel being a blood is a fraternity. Now, there's big differences between being Alpha Phi Alpha and non-trade gangster. Exactly. Yes, there are big differences, but the premise of what it is the same thing, my brother.
So, I mean, fraternities is brotherhoods, right? And a gang is a brotherhood. I think the question for me is like, what's it organized around? So like when I'm in a fraternity, and it was like, all right, we organized around black men achieving, right? And I got a lot of respect actually for gangs and shit they do, especially, you know, historically. I guess my question is, what do Bloods organize around, or Crips organize around? Like, what's their goal? What's the reason for coming together? What's the
brotherhood is about lifting each other up. Like what we see in the public, yeah, we got a lot of ignorance when it comes to the gangbang, but the underline is about lifting each other up. That's what we believe in. Each one teach one and things like that. But you won't see that. The media only wants you to paint the ugly picture. But there's a lot of positive situations that goes on within the gang community. There's a lot of brothers that have been through a lot that always pour into their community to give back. There's a lot of gang prevention programs that gang leaders run themselves and things like that. Like, you know what I mean? But the word gang itself already puts a twist on it.
So the irony of that last statement right there, that there's now gang leaders, right, that are running gang prevention programs and doing a whole lot for their neighborhood. Now, come on now, like, if a gang is such a upstanding organization of brotherlyhood, why is there a gang leader that every city, all over, all neighborhoods, the OGs be telling you that? Why does it take somebody to have to bump their head and damn near lose their life over and over and over again just to come back and tell y'all this shit ain't, man, go another direction, claim another title, you know what I mean? Like, why is that though? Why is this brother 48 years old going on here around with a round table of men that are acting like they intelligent, and everybody's calm and everybody's feeding it? Some of them are feeding into it. I guess maybe this is just podcast and you carry the conversation longer. You feed into it a little bit more. But somebody needed to stomp down on Jim Jones in this motherfucking video and be like, man, what the fuck are you talking about though? Like, you cannot fucking sell this to the world. But I mean, it makes good conversation, right? Now you got motherfuckers creating content, so it's working the Hollywood wonders. But man, can't nobody out there in their motherfucking right mind especially at the age of 48, after you've lived and experienced and all this shit, still believe that these two are one and the same by no fucking means.
Or anything that happens to it, you dig? So it's like the positivity goes out the window as soon as somebody hears a gang, or as soon as somebody hears blood, or someone hear Crip, when there's a lot of positive activity goes on within the gang community.
It is.
You heard?
Would you want your son to join?
Would I want my son to join?
Yeah.
No, I say that in my music. I wouldn't want him to join, but I wouldn't stop him from joining.
Mm. Why wouldn't you want him to, though?
Because he came up different than I did.
Sure, indeed.
Got you.
You heard?
Yeah.
He don't know what being in Harlem or being in the hood is. He don't know what it is to have to rely on that brotherhood, or come outside and need that brotherhood, or come outside or have to be a leader for that brotherhood. Like, he didn't have his back against the wall. He never had. And I hope he never have.
So we're going to get into the meat and potatoes right here. You hear what he said right there. He said he wouldn't want his son to join the gang by no means, but he wouldn't stop him at the same time because he was raised differently. And now he goes into the spiel about his son not knowing, right, what it was like for him having to go outside in a crime-ridden environment and need these people, right? He needed them, right? I have to depend on them, so forth. So what that tells me is that you're a follower. And ain't nothing wrong with it. I was a follower for a long time too. Praise God, he woke me up and gave me the eyes to see, the ears to hear, and all that good spiel right there, right? But you just told me that you couldn't, you went along to get along, right? You went along to get along, and I'm old enough now, like I said, I'm up in that ballpark with Jim, that I remember when the East Coast wasn't, it'd be, if you were talking to somebody from the East Coast, it'd be crazy to hear that somebody was a Blood or a Crip from New York, from New Jersey. It'd be fucking nuts. Like, you know what I mean? Like, motherfuckers from New York embodied the real hip hop. You know what I mean? Not to say that there wasn't organizations and gangs and shit, but like to be a Blood or a Crip. So for Jim Jones' era, I get it, right? I get, you know, the thoroughness of individuals back in that time span, but to go on to continue to think that this is something that you needed to promote, because most people that get put on a gang, right, once again, get put on at a young age, right, when they're impressionable, right, and most gang members really are, you know, they might have got socked up. Now they don't want to get socked up anymore. They want some power behind them. You know what I mean? They want to feel tough again. They don't want to ever feel weak again. That's like, you know, when people always are showing you hard, they're usually hiding and masking that for something else, right? At least that's what life has taught me in my time span. Y'all can debate me in the comments if y'all want, but to hear Jim Jones use this as rationale, right, for why he wouldn't want his son to join a gang, but why he still promotes a gang at 48, like it's prosperous and it's positivity and it's helpful. Man, it's fucking bananas to me. What they say out there on the East Coast, hey, yo, son, that shit is mad crazy, right? Mad ill, you know what I mean? That shit is wild, but let me know what y'all think down below.
To go through that,
but
you know
is that a prerequisite for joining? Like, if I didn't,
it's not a prerequisite.
If I wasn't raised like that.
And not a did you hear what I said? I don't want him to join, but I would not stop him from joining. His father is a Blood, and I'm a pretty positive, successful Blood member. You heard? Like, I've done a lot of things wrong, and I've done a lot of things right, like any of us in here have done. You heard? And my brotherhood, I always try to lift up. I've never told somebody to do anything negative when they're around me. I don't need them for that. You know what I mean? Coming up, yeah,
it's on.
You heard? It's a lot. It's a lot of energy, but I got this thing you won't know till you grow, and I did a lot of growing. You understand? You did? So I'm able to turn the narrative and what people see, especially in my community. That's why I'm always there. I don't go to my community to shine on nobody or stun on nobody. What's the purpose in that? But I go there to be the beacon of light that I am for these kids, and see that there's somebody that came out the same circumstances that they did that can figure out how to get out the matrix. You dig? I ain't perfect, but I'm a perfect example of what hard work, dedication, and a lot of prayer could do for you. I promise you that.
My pushback in that, because I don't know nothing about the frats.
Very well said.
Or too much about the gangs. But when you said Snoop, right? And I've been saying for a while, Snoop is probably the most marketable rapper in the world. And he's a gang member.
Right.
And he's definitely down with the commercialization of it.
Right.
I don't think y'all commercialize it the same, though. Right? Like, when I hear Snoop lyrics, to me, are different from your lyrics. Snoop, when he talked, is still the Magic Johnson smile it's all of the marketable bullshit.
So
I don't.
is that now or was that then?
I was about to say, is Snoop
that-
still outside?
is
Y'all
that-
talking about when
is
murder
that
was the case
def-
and all that shit?
He's still outside. He's
right
still
now,
outside.
Snoop is the biggest
Rapper.
He box
period.
office, yeah.
He is different when it comes to anything. He's on every commercial. Like I need, who is his manager, agent? Please sign me. I need it right now. You
He
heard?
just said, yo, 93 million, I'm in the south of France. 93 million, you won't see me no more. Snoop might got 300, 400 million.
Also, did y'all listen to Snoop last
Everybody
album?
has a different
Dre album?
purpose.
Yeah.
That
Heard?
one or the Dog Pound album
Everybody's
he did or
here
the
to
East
do
Siders
different
album he did?
things.
He's still talking it.
Yeah, he talking gang shit on the
He's
last
still
one.
talking it on
That
the
Dre
last
joint.
projects.
Yeah.
I hear it.
But I understand.
If
what
y'all
you're
don't
saying.
knock it the fuck off,
He might be.
Fam, I've listened to these albums.
But
all
people
three of
don't.
them.
People don't look at.
people
Snoop
don't believe that
as the-
Snoop Dogg
Sure.
is getting with whoever to get in the car and go
But
do
I know
nothing
that.
as
But you
Snoop.
said the
Not right now.
commercialization of it. He's still doing that on commercial records
100%.
and selling it.
But
Yeah, but
that's a minority of people that view
But
him in
it's
that light.
it's even bigger than that because he don't even have to do a record anymore to commercialize
Right.
that
Right.
Crippin'.
It's in
you
his
heard?
bra- it's his brand
It's his
now.
brand. Like
It's his brand.
he put that shit on a motherfucking Sprint commercial. He
Corona
put that
commercial,
shit
any
on
of
a
that shit.
coffee
Yeah.
commercial. He like it's way past music for him. Everything we see, we know what it is. When you see
Think about Snoop Dogg, right? Snoop Dogg is the commercial Crip, right? He's the poster child for Crippin', right? Everybody you think of Snoop, you think of Crip, right? It's like synonymous. But we know that Snoop Dogg was real tight with one of the founders, Tookie Williams, right? The OG of all OGs, right? He was tight with him. Talked to the man before he was executed, right? And Tookie had gave up Crippin'. He was speaking to children. He was a gang preventionist. He was writing children's books. I mean, this is somebody who's. Do you think Snoop Dogg carried that man's mission on further to eradicate and slow down and help the cause that the man that he said he had so much love for? You know, why didn't you carry on his cause of his type of Crippin' in that sense right there? But you couldn't do that because that's not profitable. And to commercialize gangbanging is profitable though, right? And that's why Jim Jones can't be nobody else without having to rep that B card and talk about himself being an official member and all this, and he's got to still prove it. You know, you still see him online. He's in Compton with the other older bloods and shit. You still proving to the world like you dialed in and you connected like that. But at the end of the day, you gonna go in front of God when your life is over. You ain't finna go in front of none of these people, none of this worldly stuff. And this is when I see stuff like this, it really makes me wonder what God they worship, because they'll speak positively, they'll talk intelligently, right? But what God do you serve though? Because you can't serve God and money. So the God that you serve must be the God of money though, right? Because that's who you idolize. That's who you, by any means and everything you'll go for is whatever gets you paid for, right? So we know that money, right? We know who's the owner of money in this worldly world, right? We know who's the God of money, right? Jesus himself said it was harder for a rich man to get in heaven than it is for an elephant to go through the pen of a needle. And we think about an elephant, the pen and needle, that no kind of way, right? Turn from your money and flee. But most anybody, myself included, would be a hard thing to do is turn from my riches and go away. But I'm sure Jim Jones definitely does good. I have no doubts about that. I'm sure there's good that comes from what he's done and being out there in his neighborhood. But you don't get bad fruit from a good tree. So I don't know what Jim Jones' fruit really is, but this interview right here is fruitless. But we're gonna put some fruit to it by getting up here and we're gonna speak the truth on it, right? You feel me? We're gonna make it fruitful. But for him to try to sell that, and it's crazy because in the same interview after he's in here chopping it up about this, he goes into a financial part where he basically contradicts himself and says that his neighborhood, the people around him, all of them, none of them gave him understanding to what he really needed to do, right? None of them really helped guide it. Now, a fraternity, right? You probably would have had some educated brothers in there that got educated parents that probably could have put you on that correct portion of how to manage your money, be financially literate, and so forth. But no, we buy into deception. We buy into this shit right here. And that's what Jim Jones is selling the world, deception. That's what majority of rappers are selling, deception. That's what Snoop Dogg is selling, deception. And man, ain't nobody trying to hear that shit. I don't want to hear no 50-plus-year-old motherfucker rapping on the track to me all the time and preaching some shit to me about that shit when we already know that shit ain't what it's going to be going. We know it ain't going nowhere. We know that shit leads somebody to their motherfucking, to their timely demise, or they robs and steals from their motherfucking free life. But y'all can let me know what y'all think. I'm down to argue, debate, however you want to cut the cake. You know, let me know down below. If you made it this far in the video, hit me with that young like, and we going to catch it back around on the next round. I'm gone.